3, 2.
Hi, and welcome to Simple Talks. This is the new 2025 season. We're all excited to get going. It's been a few weeks off. I'm a little rusty. This is not the first time I've said welcome to Simple Talks podcast. This podcast is we're going to talk to people about technology. We're going to do that. We're going to drink a little coffee. My guest today has some coffee, and he has some coffees he's excited about. So we'll see how that turns out. Maybe we'll all go order the coffee that he has. I got mine from a coffee shop today, delivered by my wife. It was very nice. I want to have a couple of reminders about the podcast. The only politics we talk about are whether cats are better than dogs. And the only religion we talk about is why cats are better than dogs. No, you'll see why that matters coming up here in just a little bit. But I'm really excited about what you do outside of technology for this episode. Our guest, Scott Stauffer, which I'll bring in right now. And it's Stauffer or Stauffer?
Either will do. Stauffer is, I think, what people tell me I should say. But Stauffer for the German and Austrians, apparently that's also it's the way it's said. But yeah, I'll answer either.
Now, are these people that tell you should say that like related, like parents or something? Because if they're not parents, that is just rude to tell people how to pronounce their name. At least that's what I've been told.
There's people that are German speaking, and so I'll just trust their word on it. Scott's fine with me. I'm pretty good that way.
So what is it? The coffee you're drinking? We'll talk about the coffee.
Oh yes. Well, my gosh, I made a poor life decision recently and decided to not eat sugar and not have caffeine. So I've moved to decaf, but this is not any ordinary decaf. This is Kicking Horse decaf. It is fantastic. I made it in my espresso machine, a Breville 87 XL. This is a coffee show, so I should mention these details. And organic whole bean coffee, decaffeinated, Swiss water processed. So that's what I'm drinking. And of course, I've got a little bit of cinnamon sprinkled over top. And that's the way I like my coffee at home.
I'm a latte person. I went and got Scooter's coffee today.
Okay.
I like the Scooters. They have a little cute little thing on the top, little drinking.
Yeah. Indeed, a latte as well. But, half my Americano, half latte. I don't know what that's called. I'm not actually a barista. I don't even play one on TV, so it's not a thing here.
I will say, when I went to Europe for the first time, I was like, they have great lattes, right? Yeah. But I hit the button for Americano once, and that was the most weird tasting bad thing I'd ever had. It was like water with coffee in it. I like milk with coffee in it, not water with coffee in it. And for those of you who are watching, you'll probably see me. I'll cough a little bit, but I will definitely mute the button so that the people listening will have no idea that I'm sick, other than the fact that I say I'm sick. I'm not really sick. I came back from vacation yesterday. It was a cold week in Orlando, so I picked up a little sniffle.
Oof. Orlando, that's exciting.
All right, so the first topic we always ask is, what is your origin story? So we all have an origin story. We all were kids one time. We wanted to be something. I wanted to be the cowboy of the Dallas Cowboys. Some people wanted to be in computing. Somebody wanted to be jet pilots. Some people wanted to be in fashion. Some people want to be in all sorts of things. But I've not encountered more than one person now, Kevin Fiesel, who said, I'd like to grow up and be a database person.
Yeah, that didn't happen to me either. Database was not something that I got, but I started off with the Commodore 64, and that really got me going down that direction. In fact, there was someone that said you can have relational data files stored on those little cassette tapes that the Commodore 64 had, and I thought, okay, that's interesting. Tell me more, but it never went anywhere. So, Commodore 64 turned into video games obsession to the point where I said, I need to put those video games away and get out and enjoy some fresh air. I guess when I was 14, my brother and I started a bulletin board service, or a BBS. And I think you guys talked about this on one of the other episodes. And
been there. At the very least, I've been there with the
300 baud modem. Woo! That's where I got started with technology and excited about technology. In my teens, I sort of thought, I'll go to University of British Columbia. I'll take the counseling psych program as their master's program after I do a undergraduate in psychology. And I thought, that's where I'm going to go. And I volunteered on a crisis line for a little bit and realized gosh, this active listening, this empathy stuff, it takes a lot out of you. So I thought, maybe I should reconsider this. And so, uh, 14 years old, I'm up at 2 in the morning writing assembly language routines for my BBS because the maker of the BBS is actually local to Vancouver, and he made the source code available to people he knew. So I could look at what routines I could call of his, and so I created some stuff, and that really got me down that path of, hey, these computers, you can really do some cool stuff with them. And so yeah, for a while I sort of floundered and took the gap year, or years as it turns out for a lot of people, I'm sure. And it happened over a weekend. I got the local rag, the local newspaper, and it talked about, um, uh, Douglas College has this wonderful co-op program, and hey, there's a reason to get into technology, get a co-op program and jump into the industry. So after doing that, I worked at a co-op, Ministry of Finance. They actually had an office in Vancouver as opposed to the provincial capital in Victoria. Really got into systems administration, and then there was this thing called Lotus Notes, and there's this other thing called, oh gosh, it was DB2 on OS2. And then there was this thing called SQL Server 6.0. And so that's, they asked me to say, hey, can you make sure these files get loaded every day? They get exported from someone else's system, imported into ours. And then we have some finance type people that, want to look through this data. And then sort of supporting those systems really got me into that. Hey, there's this thing called a DBA. That sounds pretty exciting. And there was this SQL Server Mag and then of course we upgraded to SQL Server 6.5 just a few months after using 6.0. And it was like, hey, I really like this. And uh, I realized though that within the Ministry of Finance at the time, in that department, there wasn't a lot of interest to take things further. And I had someone reached out to me about an opportunity to work in an investment management company, and so it just kind of kept going there. They hired me as a systems analyst, but quite quickly it's like, Scott, you really seem to be interested in this data stuff, and hey, we should maybe make you responsible for our database system. So that was pretty fantastic. And that was also, my boss there said, Scott, it's really important that you attend conferences. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And SQL Server Mag had, just talked about, hey, there's this great thing called PASS, the Professional Association for SQL Server. And it's like, so I knew exactly where I was going to go with that. So it was fantastic. San Francisco, year 2000.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was happening. So ever since then, I think I've missed 2007 or 2008. I always get it mixed up. It was Chicago 2007, I think.
I
Maybe
don't
it was
think
Denver.
so.
Denver. Was it Denver then?
Yeah, Chicago was the first one, right?
Yeah, the 1999. I missed that one. I was still in government. Government's not going to pay for you to go to a conference and send you across the world. Now it's not going to happen. But yeah. So I mean, that was really, after that it was like, okay, DBA, and then went into consulting in 2005. Mostly it was converting DTS packages, SQL Server 2000 DTS packages into SSIS, or SQL Server Integration Services packages. Ended up being a lot of the work that I did initially before I really got into SQL Server analysis services and reporting services. And of course, today it's Microsoft Fabric, Azure Data Factory, and Data Factory and Fabric, of course, as well. And so that's really, that's where I am today. And actually, I just this week started at a company called Improving. So they're now the place where I reside, and it's a pretty cool place.
So two things I want to bring up from what you said. First, doing phone counseling, that's hard. I mean, it's very hard. Even I worked in a parts place at Maytag for a little while.
Yeah.
And just that, having that much empathy is hard. Because we were like, my washer won't work, and it's just terrible, and it's sad, and I can't. And you're
And
like,
nobody's
I want
happy.
to help you.
They never called to say, "Hey, Lewis, my washer's working today."
It just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. No, it's leaking.
And then video games. What was the game? What was the game that you like?
Oh,
That hurt, that started
well,
it all.
you know, the one that I think had a high addiction level with me was Lode Runner. And I don't know, that might resonate with you.
Yeah.
Castle Wolfenstein was also a big one. Then there was an Olympics one, the Summer Olympics one, I think. I can't remember exactly. That was a long time ago. But
I like the ones the one in the arcade for the Olympics one, where you'd have to hit the buttons side by side, and there was all sorts of tricks. Like you have a comb, and
oh, okay.
I was never that good at it, but I always loved that.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I was more of a Nintendo person myself. So
okay. Yeah.
But the one that got me started was King's Quest. I don't know if you ever played King's Quest.
No.
We played it on like a monochrome monitor. It was that.
Okay.
Which I know when you mentioned that you worked on Commodores, I know you've seen a.
Oh, I mean, Atari. Atari was I guess I was probably about 8. I guess probably about 8 when I saw 7 when I saw the first Atari our neighbor had playing in the basement. Was it Pong or something, or was it Asteroids was one of them, and I don't know whether Pac-Man was out at that point. I don't know the time frame there, but I didn't play Pac-Man much. I thought it was pretty cool, but I didn't have the opportunity and just didn't pursue that. But yeah.
Because people just don't understand how much. Like every year, our iPhone screens get a little better, a little more refresh, a little faster. But the leap from a monochrome monitor to a grayscale monitor to a color monitor was just
yeah. And then those the big tubes that off the back of the monitor. Now we've got these nice thin screens that you can almost kind of carry under your arm and walk down the street. Not a problem. But yeah, there's been some innovations over the years. Absolutely.
My wife and I were just talking about the difference between processing and things. But my phone has more power than that they did when they were doing something. I was like, my wife. I used to have a BlackBerry that had a 386 in it. So yes, it was so much more technology that we have.
Yeah.
Which leads me directly into my next question.
Oh, okay.
What is that technology that you just like, I can't believe I get to do this. I can't believe I get to play with this and I get to go to work and do this and people pay me.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking professional technology, I really love where, how things have gone from Power BI and then the Fabric sort of grew off the Power BI initiative and the starting point, really great people on the team. And now you're seeing SQL Server in Fabric. Or SQL database in Fabric. I guess we shouldn't mix the branding names. We'll get those marketing people all upset. But having a relational database offered within that capacity and being able to define it in different workspaces, that's next level. I'm excited to see where things go there. That's where my focus is now professionally. But certainly, I love all sorts of technology. I did just buy an Apple Watch, and I had this, I start off with the Fitbit as sort of a fitness tracker, sort of the steps, and it I guess, I don't know, build quality has decreased over the years, and it just kind of my last 2 Fitbits, they haven't been amazing, and so I wanted to see what the Apple Watch could do, and interestingly enough, the technology related to that is the sleep tracking and just the algorithms they use to identify when you're in each of the different stages of sleep. It's just fascinating. There's a great YouTube influencer out of Austria, I believe, and he does comparisons of he's a scientist who works in sleep research departments of the university, I believe. And so he'll compare different technologies and track them, and he'll use something called a confusion matrix to compare the accuracy of, say, the Apple Watch to the instruments they use. And and he said, he's having a little problem with his test device right at the moment, but he seems to think that Oura Ring and Apple Watch 10 right now have the best algorithms. In the past, it was Fitbit's algorithms that were really tracking those stages and really identifying it. So yeah, which is interesting. And I'm just going to break in and say one more thing. What would interest you in looking at your sleep stages? Research around Alzheimer's is really some new things have come about where they can identify that one of the concerns is there's a protein in your brain that eats away at your brain cells, and the only thing that can help you with this is I think it's an enzyme that's released during your deep sleep stage, and it only happens during your deep sleep stage. And it takes about a half an hour. So you want to make sure that you get into your deep sleep stage and stay in there for a little while to wash away the toxins and the dirt, so to speak. So this is my effort to combat dementia, and yeah. So we'll see how well that goes. Come see me in 10 years, and if I'm talking gibberish, it didn't work.
So I thought of this question when I was talking after I finished talking with Aaron, who when I asked him this question, he went on about hybrid vehicles, which I like that topic as well. But do you ever consider using your technical skills to be a part of that external, not professional thing you have, like tracking your sleep? Do you ever consider getting the data and like writing your own charts and your own graphs?
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly one of the things, as someone who loves to speak at conferences, it's an opportunity to take something and show something that's personal, that everyone can leverage. You're going to post some of these things on GitHub so people can download your solutions. But absolutely, I want to take some of my sleep data, export it from Fitbit, export it from Apple Health. I haven't really looked at doing that for Apple Health, but pulling it in and maybe even doing a confusion matrix, because I've been wearing both my Fitbit and my Apple Watch to bed for sleep analysis, and I will do a confusion matrix in Power BI. That would be cool, and load the data into OneLake and in Fabric, and I think that'd be a really cool way. I don't know that Apple or Fitbit provide API access at this point, especially for cheap old me who's not going to pay for the subscriptions of, it's only $15 a month. Maybe not, but yeah, definitely. I would love to take some time, and that's probably going to be something I do this year is take some of that data and do that. Absolutely.
If you want some more information, get yourself a pair of sleep headphones.
Ooh.
And they will give you some information about whether you're sleeping deep and stuff. They will also tell you when you flip over. Like, some nights I'm like, I roll over how many times a night? Oh my gosh, that's not good.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Once or twice, sure. 50 times, that seems like a lot.
Yeah. No, it'd be good to do not just hey, here's some fitness data, but also include, hey, here's 10 tips to help you sleep better. And that's what I think I'll probably do. And hey, I think it's Wednesday today. This by the time this gets out, it's not going to be worth it. But hey, I'm going to be submitting something to SQL Bits this Friday. Maybe that sleep one should be a session that I do.
That'd be fun. Yes.
We'll see.
Sessions, things that you can get and do are really fun to me.
Yeah.
I don't like sessions where people go, here's some code I wrote. I can't show you the code. I can just show you basically the techniques. I like the ones where they go, here's how you write the code. Here's the code. Here's the data. You just go download your data from here.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can do that. And then you can adjust it and add to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'd be great. I would love that.
Yeah, it's so much better when people say, oh, here's my code. Here's the code I use. It's like, yes, thank you. Thanks for showing me how, but thank you for giving me the solution. Yeah, no, that's always appreciated when people do that. So much.
I was glad to hear Bits had announced when they're going to do, and it's going to be in the warm months of June, right?
Yeah. No, it's a change. And I guess too, for you're probably going to be making some time to go to Cambridge to visit your peeps at Redgate, right? And make it a dual trip.
I do not make plans that far.
Oh, okay. All right.
Even though I'm supposed to plan out my entire year, I know things change, so I don't get excited. Not excited yet, but
Yeah. For me, Sequel Bits is like, it's always been during spring break, and my wife is a school teacher. She was going to help out as a Sequel Bits buddy or not, but wearing an orange shirt. Um, and she got sick at the last moment. And so she joined me on the second half when we actually just vacationed in London. Unfortunately, the third week of June this year is not going to work for my wife. So yeah, she's got to join me after she's done, I guess. Yeah, no, I love Sequel Bits. It's right up there. In terms of community, that and Pass, of course. Those two really resonate for me, and those are the ones that I'll want to go to again and again.
The thing that'll be interesting is whether it's hot or cold. Because I was there last summer in June, and I did not pack like it was going to be winter.
Yeah,
but it was basically winter where I live.
Yeah,
it was 50s during the day and 40s at night. And I'm like, of course they didn't call it that; they call it some other random number like you do. I don't know the whole Celsius and
Lewis. What latitude are you on? What's your latitude? What state are you in?
Tennessee. I'm pretty low.
Tennessee. Okay. So, all right. Yeah. It's going to be a little warmer in June than it is. So I think our latitude more aligns with England, up in Canada, in Vancouver here, or just outside of Vancouver. Is just north of the 49th parallel. And yeah, you want to have something that keeps you warm for those cool days, because there'll be cool days. And yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I really like Eddie Bauer for their puffy down-filled jackets, and they're really light. So you kind of stuff them in your suitcase and stuff. I tend to like that. But yeah, no, it can be cold in London, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, no, we use Celsius here in Canada too. So yeah, so if you think
else, right?
it's 40 outside, just what is that? Subtract 30 and then divide by 2, and you're there. But or double it and add 30 if you're going from Celsius to Fahrenheit. But yeah, it's going to be cold. Well, dress for both occasions. I have clothes for both occasions. But excited that it'll be at the Excel Center again. That's like downtown London, as opposed to landing in London and then going somewhere else, right? But Farnborough, England is where it was this year. I was actually pretty close to the airport. It's like a 30-minute Uber drive to Farnborough. So yeah,
I'd only been to the one in Wales the year before. That was my first experience, and I didn't go last year.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I'd gone.
We'll see how. We'll see. So it's kind of the point of this series of coffee chats is to tell people how people got started, what they do. Because I think all of us feel like our stories are weird and different. But it turns out that all of our stories are weird, in some respects. None of us started out to do this typically, but we all end up in the same place. And being in data is a great way to make a living.
Absolutely.
I can't sell it enough. All right. So the next question, which will be new this season, we're adding another question, is learning about technology. Where do you go to find information? What's your go-to?
Well, nothing beats face-to-face connections, and having a presenter there to answer your questions, to show you the way, to pivot when he or she recognizes that the audience is either not getting it or they already know that. I love that. So going to conferences is big for me. Second to that, it's YouTube. Adam and Patrick on Guy in a Cube are pretty dang awesome. But there's lots of fantastic YouTube channels for different technologies, and I think that's fantastic. Certainly blog posts. It'll usually start in the search engine, not at a particular site, and then I'll see, oh, I know so and so, and yeah, sure, Simple Talk is on there with so, and it could be one of Lewis's articles or someone else's. It doesn't matter. Chances are, if it's on Simple Talk, it's been vetted with an author that knows their stuff in that space. So yeah, definitely. And knowing the people and meeting the people in the community really informs me of, oh yeah, I know, if it's Aaron Bertrand, he knows about performance. I think he's got a website that has the word performance in it, SQL Server Performance. I can't even remember.
I don't remember, but he definitely contributed a lot there.
Yeah. Okay. But so yeah, I mean, those seem to be the ways that I learn: in person, in video, and then blog posts. Sometimes books, but a lot of the time too, it becomes a PDF is what I need to look at, as opposed to carrying books around with me. Especially being an independent consultant from 2005 until the pandemic, it really going to client sites and on-site visits, and then realizing, oh, I wish I had that book with me. Having a PDF certainly makes that a lot easier. But certainly you can see there are a few books back here as well. But
I was gonna say, don't be too mean to my books back there on my shelf.
Well, I did. I think I mentioned to you the other day, I did buy your graph book because I thought that I want that. So I haven't. I started reading some of it, but I haven't really cracked it open and got into it. But I do want to do some stuff with graph.
So I think I owe you a coffee and dinner now after the.
Well, I heard such high praise actually about your book that talks about really explaining different normal forms and relational theory. People really, that's the book people talk about. But the graph one for me is like, and I'm hearing a lot more people talk about graph these days too. So it's like, okay, well, let's see what SQL Server can do, and let's see what I can do with some of my data, and yeah. So I look forward to it. And of course, you did a coffee chat with Mala, and she's also done a book. So it was good to hear your perspective on where SQL's at with graph. And I hope they spend just a little bit more time just to give it a little bit more love. But we'll see where that goes.
Every year, I'm hoping that, because there's a few things that I really want to do. I want to do a path. Well, I'm not going to get into that.
No.
You want to do that episode if you want to hear.
Okay.
You want to do a filtered path, right? You want to be able to go from point A to point B, but I want to go through this node.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because one of my goals, I want to create a database of like theme parks and go from place to place to place.
Okay.
But sometimes you want to go the fastest way, and sometimes you want to go the scenic route.
Okay.
SQL Server will do a fastest route now, but it won't take you to the scenic route without writing the same old iterative code you wrote back in the day.
Interesting.
Give me the scenic path. So we have shortest path. Give me the scenic path. What's the longest
path? Yeah.
So at this point in the show, I like to find out some more about what people do outside of technology, because I will say that there are people who have just some really very interesting things that I've learned about what they do. You, on the other hand, have a very well-known thing that you do that everybody talks about. And I alluded to it at the beginning of the show. What do you do outside of work that people would be interested in?
Well, I guess how people may have known is they may have attended Past Summit 2022, and I had someone come along with me, and it's my daughter, and she's now graduated, and she's moved on to university, and she's graduated university, and now she is a certified PTSD dog. And so, but when people met her at PASS, she was simply a guide dog in training, and she accompanied me for the whole week of PASS, and it was an interesting experience for me. But it was so just rewarding to see that she could do her stuff at home in her safe place in her community. But what happens when you take her out of her safe community? Sure, she has me there as support, but there's a lot of different smells and a lot of different things. But she was rock solid, and I was really, really quite proud of her. And we put out there. It was really nice too. Initially, I put out the word that, I might not make it this year. I have Annie, and I noticed that the state of Washington does not recognize guide dogs in training. Someone from the PASS team reached out to me and said, well, actually, Scott, it's the city of Seattle does through the King County they recognize guide dogs and trainings, and she's talked to the rest of the team, and they love me to bring Annie. So it was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. So that was really special. Yeah, I think this is the first time I'm actually saying publicly now she is a PTSD dog, and so she's helping actually an American vet who was in the airborne during Vietnam. He's living in Canada now, and he's living in the province of BC, and she's helping him with night terrors. This is one of the things that they train for as in their advanced training. I did the sort of the essential training, or the fundamental training, if you will, just good behavior and stuff. And then she went on to advanced training, and this is one of the skills. So helping for me, it's the BC Alberta Guide Dogs Association. There's other associations around the US, around the world. That was actually one of the sessions I did at Sequel Bits, was a visualization tool that scraped the International Guide Dog Federation's website and then dropped it into into OneLake, and then visualized it in Power BI. But what I wanted to do with that was make it so that you could find out what the closest organization was to you, so that if you wanted to volunteer, either be a puppy raiser or a boarder, or just help out, reach out to them and, say, hey, what can I do to help? Or if you wanted to donate money, which also I've done in the past, is we did some fundraisers for Guide Dogs for the Blind UK at Sequel Bits. I think we raised approximately, was it £4,000, British pounds, just through, we had Guide Dogs for the UK come with dogs to Sequel Bits, and I think there were like 6 dogs throughout the Sequel Bits conference, so they joined me on stage for one of my presentations as well. So it was pretty rewarding. Well, I mean, steering it closer to technology again, is one of the thoughts I had, was it would be neat to create a graph of all of the guide dog puppies and who their parents are, how many litters they had, how many times the sire, one of the dogs mated with another one, and then just also making sure that you don't accidentally crossbreed, because when you have a large colony of dogs, of service dogs, and you're breeding them, you don't want to, get them too close, get those gene pools diverse as you possibly can. So anyways, but that's one of the things I thought that would be pretty cool to do with the graph database.
I also believe, even if you're listening to this, you may have to go to the website, to the podcast section of our website, and click on this episode. But so I believe you have a few images to show us, maybe of some dogs.
Perhaps? Yeah, I've got a few, like maybe 3,000, but I'll try to sort of keep it down to like maybe, I think I've got 50 in this one. We don't have to go through all of them. This is actually, putting on the jacket. Of course, when you see a dog in a jacket, assume they're service dogs, and don't rush up. And if you're going to touch the dog, make sure you ask the person first if it's okay. The dogs are busy working. When there's people around, they can get distracted, and they can be taken away from the work that they have to do. And some of the times, the work they're doing is saving these people's lives, like preventing them from walking in front of cars and stuff in traffic. So always be respectful of the jacket. And you can see here it says "in training," and in the front it says BC Alberta Guide Dogs. So all service dogs do not sit on seats in airplanes or cars. They sit in the what they call the wheel well area. So and just be more being adorable. And she wants to highlight the past summit, because how appropriate.
Nice.
And learning to sleep on the bed is tricky. It really is. This is training on the boardwalks out in the public. And this is another, we take them to surfaces that are different, because it's important. You can't just always walk on pavement. You can see in this picture there's some would you call it, a screen over top of some outflow air from one of the buildings. And so it's pushing her ears up, and she loves going back to this. Most dogs will be like, "Hey, what the heck are you doing?" No, she loves it. Yeah, she sleeps a lot as well. This is actually right near the fire station and the police station. So we'll sit here and have coffee, and then we'll mark and reward when she just sits there and relaxes as the ambulance go by, or the fire truck or the police car. So that's we train the dogs with mark and reward. Basically, you say a word like yes, and it's like, I've done something right, and then you give them a treat. So it just that reinforcing the good behavior is the way that you train service dogs. And of course, as a service dog, they're in charge a lot of the time. They need to act respectably and be appropriate off leash as well. So frequently on the trails, we'll have her off leash. And if she sees another dog, a lot of the time she'll come back to us and check in and say, I can't just go and play with any dog on the street. I got to be respectful of them as well. They also need to be comfortable around loud, noisy, stinky things. This actually happens to be a coal train passing underneath. We're on a metal bridge over top of a rail line. So she's just like, yeah, not a big deal. And maybe there's just one more I'm going to show you actually. And this is Annie's badge. When I went to register, they insisted on making her a badge. They put customer service representative, and I thought, oh, they should have put guide dog in training. Now that I think of it, she did also get a women in technology ribbon as well for the bottom of her badge. So she was quite happy with that. But yeah.
All right. And moving back into the normal part of our podcast, I want to ask a question from our Redgate State of the Database Landscape 2025. The results are coming in early February 2025. And they're not even out yet. And I'm going to take a pretty simplistic one. How have you, or how do you plan to use AI professionally?
Okay. Well, actually, I was thinking about this earlier, and I thought, I really haven't put my toe too much into that water. But honestly, I had a colleague I was doing an abstract with, and we'd worked quite a bit on the topic, and we really weren't quite there. And it was SQL Bits 2024. The deadline was coming up, and it was like she just mentioned. She's not the technologist. I'm the technologist. She says, well, just drop it to Chat GPT and have it finish it off for us. And so, less than an hour left. I said, oh, okay, let's do that. And, I basically says, writing an abstract, this many words. This is some of the notes that we want to cover, blah, blah, or the topic areas we want to cover. Go. And it was like pretty well right off. No prompt modification needed. It was like, wow, like it really captured it. I put quite a bit of notes, and some of them are dribble, but it really did a fantastic job of saying, hey, these might be the salient points of a fantastic, and it was great, and it was accepted. Unfortunately, plans changed, and we weren't able to. She wasn't able to attend, and so we'll have to do that another day. It did a fantastic job in that case. Certainly I hear other cases of, having it write code, be cautious. I've heard other people say, oh, I used it to fix some of my code and it actually did a job. So, your mileage may vary, I guess. And I to be quite honest, I also used it to modify a bash shell script that I'm not a bash guy. And I'm like, I think it does this, and I think this is doing this. And can you fix this? And I think the interesting thing is I hit the I think it was double hyphen or double / I can't remember, but to comment something, and it just commented the line above that I had looked at. It's like, wow, hey, that's pretty nice. And that was built into VS Code. And I had the GitHub add-on or something for Copilot when it was first introduced. So those are some of the things. I've just started improving, and I believe I have a Microsoft 365 account that includes the Copilot in it. So I certainly will explore it some more. Always, if you're having it help you cut down on time on something and you want to check it out, absolutely. But definitely give it a double check, especially if you're doing something like DAX. you really want to make sure that is this really hitting the mark? Because I've heard a lot of people say its stacks isn't so awesome, but again, now time goes on, and I believe some of the Copilot for Power BI, I think, has improved with that as well. So we'll see. I'll get back to you though.
It's a good helper. It's a better helper when you're writing code that you're going to use.
Yeah.
Don't use it to write code that you're going to present in an article or something.
Okay.
You need to test it.
Yeah.
Steve Jones he's hilarious. At way out west where O is a 1 is the number O on X. And he's always putting these things that he's tried on to get it to do, and it gives him completely wrong answers. Makes up. Today, I think it was change data capture. It was completely made up function that you had to modify.
Yeah,
and it comes up with it somewhere, but
like how does it? And there's a word for it, isn't it?
Hallucination.
Hallucinate. There you go. Yeah, hallucinate. And someone was saying, "Yes, look at this book that I've never written," and it's like it really created a book for him that he had never written. That's awesome.
A long time ago, it intersected my bio with Grant Fritchie's bio. So he'd been at Redgate for 25 years, and I was like, "No, I haven't."
Yeah. I guess too.
Grant's only been here 12, I think. So
speaking on that whole intersecting people and bringing them together because they have commonality. The photos that I showed you, the app will actually identify people's faces, but interestingly enough, it recognizes the different dogs because,
nice.
Of course, I have Annie in a lot of the photos, but I did board about 5 or 6 other dogs at her home for short periods of time. And it does a great job of identifying them so much better than myself. I go, I look at the picture because, Apple will show you, these are the pictures of the day. And you look at it and go, what? I have to actually check the date to see what dog it is on some of them. And it goes, it knows it's got the right name on it when it does the visual analysis. It's just like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So yes, if you have a Synology at home and have Synology photos, give it a try.
Nice. I'm actually looking forward to the day it identifies buildings like it does faces, because I have lots of pictures of theme parks and roller coasters and things, but
okay. And you want to
sorting them together is hard.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, absolutely. That seems like an opportunity. But Kellen Gorman, she was talking about something a few months back about identifying wildlife and using the technology to do the same thing as I was talking with the dogs, to identify which animal that was in the animal reserve. I think it was that's what we were talking about. It was a while back, but it was like, again, using AI to identify different animals. And I heard someone the other day using it to see if an animal is healthy, and it's like, what? That is next level. So yeah, some interesting, cool stuff coming out.
I know which version of the meta glasses are going to tell us, that's Scott, and that's Lewis, and that's the computer, and that's your house, and that's picture this, and this person is not feeling well, and this person is this, and this
person is angry. And that could have some applications for people that have autism and are trying to recognize, emotions sometimes can be tricky. So, identifying if someone's looking sad or angry or upset, or it's kind of interesting.
All right, so I think that wraps it up. I just want to remind everybody, as I do every time, to subscribe, like, tell your friends. And when you run out of friends, tell your family, tell strangers on the street. Just walk around saying Simple Talk Podcast. That's all you need to know.
Simple Talks.
And when you go search for it, there are a few people that have Simple Talks. So you need to make sure you're finding the one with the red on it. That's us. Where would you like to tell people that they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, I am on most of the social media networks, but I think really LinkedIn is the place that I live. So LinkedIn.com/in/Scott Stauffer is probably the good place to find me. Yeah, reach out. I am on Facebook from time to time, but again, it's mostly to keep up to date with what's happening with the puppies. There's a puppy group, a private puppy group. That's my primary Facebook usage. But definitely LinkedIn. Chat with me about graph databases, or ask me about being a puppy raiser. I'm there for you.
And the name is spelled SCOTTSTAUFFER. If you're
Absolutely.
only listening and you're furiously writing with a pencil.
Awesome.
You're listening to this on a cassette tape, writing it down with a pencil. That's how you would do it. I imagine there are people probably out there who do record their podcast to a cassette, right? There's got to be some.
Maybe, yeah. Gosh,
Can
can you buy a cassette? Where do you buy cassettes these days?
I don't know. Maybe that's the idea. That's this year's gag. We're gonna do. We're gonna start recording this on the cassettes and sing it out to people.
Send me.
Why did I say that? Because I may make you do
on
it
cassette on VHS, please. I want to copy this on VHS. Absolutely.
None of that high def stuff. I want to see lines in people's faces.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Scott. It was a lot of fun. You helped me out at Past Summit, this writing the keynote blogs.
Yeah, no, that was a blast. Being at the bloggers table with you was a lot of fun, and then distilling it after the fact to get it refined and onto the blog section of Simple Talks was fun too. It was great.
Hopefully, I'll see you at Past again this year.
100%. I'll be there.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.